Namaste everybody, and welcome to part 6 of How to Awaken Your Mind. Due to some technical issues today, we're in a different location, but the teaching is the same. So, in the last session I was talking about hindrances and obstacles that actually stop us from awakening our mind. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. So the one I want to talk about today is one that we all go through, unfortunately, on a regular basis, and that's anger. We all become angry, and anger is a natural emotion, so we shouldn't actually see anger as something that is our enemy, because it's an emotion, and emotions come for a reason. But the more that we allow this emotion to come and control us, then the more it becomes a habit, the more it becomes part of our character, part of our behaviour. So if you talk to some people, they will say to you, yeah, let your anger out. And other people say, oh, don't let the anger out, suppress it. But actually, I would say that both of these are incorrect. And the reason for that is if we just constantly keep letting that anger out, then it will become a habit. So at first maybe you'll shout at somebody and you may regret it afterwards, and then another time you shout again. And each time you shout, you start planting these seeds, and these seeds become potential, they grow in our minds. So the more that we start watering these plants every time we become angry, then the more it becomes a habit, the more it becomes part of our behavior. And that's because we keep doing it, constantly doing it. In the end, it becomes this habit, so we're not thinking about it. Maybe the very first time you shouted back at somebody, it was a conscious decision. You were thinking, I'm going to shout back. The more that we let that anger out, the more that it comes as a reaction from our unconscious mind. What we should have is a response from our conscious mind. But because we've planted these seeds over the year and we've watered these seeds every time we've got angry, now it is part of who we are. Somebody shouted at us, we shout straight back at them. So we shouldn't let our anger out. The other thing, suppressing anger. Suppressing anger really isn't a good thing to do, because it's a strong emotion. That emotion comes up for some reason. Instead of learning the lessons and helping ourselves through the anger, we're just pretending it's not here. Push it down, push it down, push it down. But that's not only going to cause you emotional problems and psychological problems, it can also cause you physical problems as well. So we really shouldn't be pushing our anger down. And the more that we suppress that anger, the more it builds up, and then maybe one day it will just be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and that anger comes out like a volcano. So we shouldn't be suppressing, and we shouldn't be letting that anger out. So then you might ask, then what do we do with our anger? Well, we let it go. We catch it and let it go. Now, that sounds easy, and you say, oh great, I'll just catch it and let it go. But of course it isn't. It takes practice and it takes time. But if you don't start to change your mindset about the anger, then it definitely is never going to change. So it does take time, it does take a lot of hard work, but it is doable. One way of helping ourselves through anger is to learn how to be patient. So patience means that, we can step back a moment and just, okay, let's just watch what's going on here. So what happens is now, we live in this world of instant gratification. We live in a world of smartphones where everything is there, instantly there for us. We don't have to, go looking. We don't have to wait anymore. I don't know how old you are, but if you're as old as me, you'll remember that. You know, if somebody died in another country, we'd have to wait for a letter to come, and it could take a month before we heard about these things. Now, instantly, we get these things. So what that is doing, this instant world we live in, it's speeding us up. You know, we're becoming as fast, or trying to become as fast as technology, which is a mistake, obviously, and it's one that, you know, emotionally, psychologically, physically, we're going to pay for in the end. But we're all trying to do that, and what we're doing is we're becoming intolerant and we're becoming impatient. So patience is what we need. So patience is about just allowing the world to unfold. You know, what we try to do is we try to control everything. We try to speed everything up. Everything is about me, me, me. I want to do this, and I want it this way, and I want it now. All of those things, if we don't get our way, you know, if we don't get somebody to do it the way we want to do it, or we don't get it the way that it should be, or we don't get it on time, then we become angry. So patience is one of the key things that we need to start building up, to be able to work with our anger, to be able to catch it. You know, when you're patient, you can just, okay, I can see what's happening here, and you can make a decision like to walk away, or whatever you decide to do. So patience is what we need. We just need to relax and allow the world to unfold. You know, the world doesn't need us to unfold. It will unfold itself. And we need to be thinking about that point. I mean, just think about it now. The world doesn't need you. It doesn't need me. It doesn't need any of us to unfold. It is unfolding moment by moment by moment. And us trying to speed it up, it's not going to work. We can't speed up the process of the world. We have to just step back and relax, and okay, this process is going to take a little bit longer than I thought. It's okay. We'll get there. This process may be not, you know, the way that I envisaged it. It's okay. You know, it still does its job. It still does what it's supposed to do. Great. We can learn that from patience. And the way that we start to build patience is through mindfulness. You know, we lose our patience, or we become angry because we're not being mindful, because we just allow our minds to react. So remember what I've said before about mindfulness, and we have a stimulus, and if we're not being mindful, we react to that stimulus. Then afterwards our awareness comes in. So at that point it's too late. Somebody has shouted at me before, I shout straight back at them, because that is what I've always done. That is the seed that I've always watered. So later on, when my awareness comes in, then I think, oh no, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have hit that person, or whatever you're going to do when you're angry. So when we're being mindful, and remember, mindfulness means awareness, yeah? So when we're being aware of maybe our thought processes, the emotions that's coming up in us, what our body is telling us, what our heart is telling us, what the immediate environment is telling us. It's an awareness about what is happening right now, right at this moment, right in front of me. That's what mindfulness is. It's a complete awareness. So when we have that awareness, we have the same stimulus. Somebody shouts at me, but because I have this awareness, the awareness comes first. So instead of blindly reacting, because the awareness now comes first, now I can respond. So maybe I'll respond by shouting back. Okay, that's your choice. You've made a conscious decision. So at least consciously now you've decided to shout back. Well, maybe you think, no, I'll take a deep breath and I'll walk away and come back later when we're both calmed down. Whatever it is, we have a choice. When we're in this bubble of awareness, it means that when a stimulus happens, we have our awareness, we can respond. We can make a conscious choice, a choice that is built in reality and not in generalization or catastrophization. In between here, the stimulus and our response, in that gap there, is your growth. That's where you can change. We cannot change when we're just blindly reacting to things. We can only change when our awareness comes before our action. The awareness comes after our action, too late. I mean, yeah, we can apologize, but nothing is learnt there. So mindfulness is a great way of bringing ourselves back into the present moment, of building that patience. When we feel that we're starting to get a little tense and lose our temper, then use certain practices to bring yourself back. So I'm going to talk about 4 practices, and then I'm going to talk about how we can analyze our anger. So the 4 mindfulness practices that we can do, one is we can just watch our breath. So it is so simple to do. Just focus on the breath. Don't change the breath. Whatever the breath is doing, it's fine. You know, your body knows how to breathe. We don't need to put a lot of time and effort into this. We just need to watch the breath. So I would say when you're doing that, just lightly close your eyes so you can really focus your awareness on that breath. And then just watch the breath flowing in and flowing out. And you can just say to yourself, now I'm breathing in, now I'm breathing out, and now I'm breathing in, and now I'm breathing out. And just do that for a minute or two. It brings you into the present moment. It will start to build patience. Instead of blindly reacting to that irritation, that frustration, or that anger that's starting to burn inside of you, it helps to calm you down and then start to think consciously, start to respond. Another way to do it is check in with your body. So again, I would say lightly close your eyes so you can focus, and then just check in with your body. If you have the time, just do a little scan down the body, see if you're holding any tension there. If you find, and probably we are, yeah, when we're starting to get frustrated and angry and our shoulders are starting to come up like that, then of course we're going to hold some tension in the body. So when we're holding tension in the body like that, what we need to do as we scan down the body, then when we find that tension, just imagine that now I'm breathing that tension out, and then just relaxing that area, softening that area, and then carry on with your scan down your body. If you don't have time to do a tension scan like that, then just do a sensation scan. Just sit there and just check in with your body and see where can you feel sensations. So you know, when you start to check in with your body, the first place we feel the most sensations is on our face. I think because our face is out in the weather the whole time, it really does pick up lots and lots of sensation. But you know, just spend a minute or two just checking in with any sensations you're holding in your body. So you can either do the tension scan or the sensation scan. It brings you into the present moment, it calms you down, makes you focus, gives you this awareness and helps build patience. Another practice we can do is by using our senses. So wherever you are, you can just look around and just look at a few different things. How many different things? It doesn't matter, you know, if you look at 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, but just look at different things. Don't focus too much on them. Don't stare at them, because if we stare at something for too long, we'll build a story around it. Oh, this reminds me of when I did this, or I don't like this, or I do like this. So when you're using your senses in that way and looking around, don't spend too long. So that story will be built up, and before you know where you are, you have forgotten about your anger, but now you've got attached to something. So you can use your senses, listen for sounds. You can close your eyes and breathe in and see what smells there are. You can even just stop what you're doing, close your eyes and put your awareness inside your mouth. What taste do you have inside your mouth? We always are holding some taste in our mouth, but we never, unless we're chewing something or eating something, we never notice. But there's always some sort of taste in your mouth. Hopefully a nice one, but you never know. So just close your eyes and focus your awareness on inside of your mouth. I just cleaned my teeth, so there's a wonderful taste in my mouth. So, and you can actually then touch different things that have different texture: glass, paper, plastic, wood. Just again touch it, and again, don't spend too much time touching it. Just feel the texture and move on. Again, because all of these senses, if we spend too long, we'll build a story around it. The final one that we can do when we realize that we're starting to lose our patience is to recite the word patience, patience, patience. So again, you just need to close your eyes and then just keep reciting that word, patience, patience. And when you're reciting it, focus on the word and focus on the meaning of the word. The meaning of the word is to calm yourself down. So focus on that, patience, patience, patience. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just recite it mentally in your head, but keep reciting the words for 1 or 2 minutes. It will calm you down. You know, what we think, we become. So if you're thinking frustration and irritation, then of course that is what you're going to become. But now we're patience, patience, patience. So then guess what we're going to become? Patient. So these 4 practices, using these mindfulness practices, helps us build patience. And when we have patience, we're more likely to catch our anger before it boils over and you start saying things that you really didn't want to say. So another thing about anger is that once we get caught in that anger, there is nothing we can do. It's no good somebody saying to you when you're in the middle of a real rage and somebody says, breathe. You say, I'll breathe in a minute. So you can't stop that anger. You can't control that anger once you're in the middle of it, once it's got its claws into you, because it's now controlling us. We can't control it. So what we need to be doing is looking at the anger before we start to become angry. So what I'm talking about here is looking at what triggers anger. There will always be a trigger, yeah? Anger is an emotion, and like every other emotion, it doesn't just pop up. Anger or any other emotion doesn't just think, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll tease him now. I'll make him angry. It doesn't do that. And it doesn't think that, oh, I've got nothing else to do, so I know, I'll make them angry. It isn't like that. There will be a trigger for that anger. So if we spend time before we get into this angry situation, if we spend time before just looking, what type of situations make me angry? What type of people make me angry? Now here, be careful. When we're looking at what type of people make me angry, we're not looking to blame. Remember, we all have a choice. You have chosen to become angry, not they made me angry. We can't say that. They made me angry. They may have triggered something in you, but once that was triggered, you have a choice to either shout back or do something else. The choice is yours, but you make that choice. So if you're making that choice, you can't blame them. So when we're looking at the triggers and looking at the types of people that make us angry, then we're not blaming them. We have to take responsibility. It's our anger. We need to take responsibility for that. If you're just going to blame things, you're never going to learn. You're never going to be able to analyze your anger and find antidotes for that anger if you're not honest with yourself and taking responsibility for your actions. So when we look at the triggers, we look at certain situations that make us angry and certain types of people. There are always going to be situations and people that rub us up the wrong way. It's always going to be that way. We're human beings. So we have to accept that that is a fact. That is what's going to happen. So, well, first of all, when we're going to do this meditation practice now anyway, the analysing. So we're going to look at triggers. So we don't have time to go through all your triggers or all my triggers, but we're going to look at one key situation and one key type of person. That'll be enough for this meditation. Again, don't try to do too much anyway. If you're going to do this meditation on your own, don't try to do all of your anger, all of your triggers all at once. Baby steps. Once you've managed to find an antidote for a trigger and it worked the next time that trigger went off and you didn't get angry, that's going to be your motivation to then, okay, now I need to be looking further at other things. So little baby steps. I mean, always little baby steps with any of the practices that I talk about on these series. Just little baby steps. Don't try to change the whole of you all at once. It's impossible. It's taken all these years to get you into this position, so it's going to take a few years to now move you on and help you become a better person. So then we're going to look at what triggers. Then we're going to have a little look at anger, so we understand our anger. What does it feel like when we're angry? What would it feel like to the person that we're being angry to? Where do we hold that anger in our bodies? This is going to help us to understand our anger. And then we're going to look at triggers. So those two situations, the situation that made us angry and the type of person that made us angry, we're going to look at an antidote for that situation. So I hope that's clear and you understand. So let's just do this meditation practice. So don't worry, you don't need to sit on the floor or anything. Wherever you're sitting is perfectly fine. Just sit nice and comfortable and lightly close your eyes. And close your eyes so you can really focus, because now we need to go inward. We need to take responsibility and we need to be honest with ourselves. So lightly close the eyes and just get us nice and relaxed and ready to look at this anger. Let's start by doing 3 calming breaths. So breathe in slowly and deeply through your nose and hold the breath. And breathe the air out through your mouth. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. And now just breathe normally. So I want you to think of one situation that usually makes you angry. Now remember, no blame game here. Just think of a situation where when you find yourself in that situation, you always become angry. So just think of a situation like that for a moment. And now think of a type of person. Now remember, no blame here. Just bring one type of person that, usually brings up this anger or irritation or frustration in you. Don't necessarily here think of one person, just think of a type of person. Don't try to personalize it too much here. Okay, great. So now we've got 2 triggers. So before we look at any antidote, I want us to look a little bit at our anger, just to get to know it a little bit. So I want you to just sit there a moment and think about, how do you feel when you're being angry? And I want you to think about how you feel during the anger and then after the anger. And just see, are they different feelings? And now I want you to think about what other people may be feeling when you're being angry towards them. Of course, we can't know 100%, but we can have a good idea about how other people feel, because we know what it's like when somebody shouts at us. So just think about what this other person is feeling when you're shouting at them. And when you are angry, where are you holding it in your body? You will be holding it somewhere. Maybe your shoulders are tight, your back. Maybe you start sweating, or you have sweaty palms or something like that. But you'll certainly be holding it somewhere in your body. So just think of a time when you were angry and see, where did you hold that? Okay, so now we've looked at our triggers and we've looked at what anger feels like. Now I want you to think back to what situation made you angry and think of an antidote. It could be that you decide that you'll try your best not to get into that situation. It could be that, when you're in that situation, you just walk away. Or you tell the people you can't deal with what is going on and you'll come back later. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Whatever works for you. It might be counting to 10, taking deep breaths. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's just what works for you. So in the situation you thought about, now think of an antidote. And now think of the type of person that made you angry, that triggers your anger, and think of an antidote. Okay, so now just very slowly start to open your eyes. So also when you're doing this practice and when you're looking at analysing the anger, the middle part of the meditation, then it's a good time. We didn't have time today, but when you do it on your own, it's a good time to look at what is the root of that anger. So we've got this type of person that made me angry. We're looking at how I feel, how they feel, where I'm holding in my body. And then also try to look at the root. Remember that anger is just the tip of the iceberg. What is underneath there? Fear, loneliness, frustration, all these things. I mean, it's an endless list of things. All we see is the top of the iceberg there, is the anger. But so many things are going on underneath that are causing that anger. So it's good that when you're in the analysing mode to just look at what you think the root is. You know, we can't blame the person. We don't need to blame ourselves. We just need to get to what is causing this. So I hope these practices, looking at patience and trying to build patience and analysing your anger, is going to help you along this path of awakening your mind. Remember, when we're angry and we're frustrated and we're intolerant and impatient, then most definitely we're not going to be having an awakened mind. Far from it. We're actually more and more closing that mind. So thank you so much for joining me in this session, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next session. So thank you and namaste.